The Supreme Court chamber, a hallowed arena of marble and mahogany, pulsed with an electric fervor last night, its air thick with anticipation and the weight of history. The room, typically a bastion of measured discourse, transformed into a crucible of raw emotion as Representative Jasmine Crockett, the Texas Congresswoman renowned for her unyielding passion, stood at the center of a storm. Her clash with Chief Justice John Roberts, a figure of towering judicial authority, ignited a spectacle that left the gallery breathless, the internet ablaze, and the nation gripped by the fallout. What began as a legal skirmish over a fabricated ethics dispute spiraled into a confrontation that would etch itself into public consciousness, a moment where conviction met power, and truth clashed with order. The stakes were high, the emotions higher, and the outcome, a viral phenomenon that would resonate far beyond the courtroom's walls. Crockett, a woman whose fiery oratory had long defined her political ascent, entered the chamber with a resolve that seemed to radiate from her very core. Her dark suit, sharply tailored, contrasted with the gleam in her eyes, a blend of defiance and purpose. She was no stranger to battles, having carved her name as a champion for the marginalized, her voice a beacon for those who felt unseen. Tonight, she faced not just a case but a test of her spirit, her argument rooted in a fictional dispute tied to her advocacy for systemic reform. The details of the case were murky, a constructed narrative of ethical violations that served as a flashpoint for deeper tensions. Yet for Crockett, it was more than a legal exercise, it was a mission to speak for those who had no platform, to challenge the structures that silenced them. Across the bench sat Chief Justice Roberts, his presence as formidable as the institution he led. His robes, a symbol of impartiality, cloaked a man whose sharp intellect and steely demeanor had long anchored the court. His eyes, piercing yet restrained, scanned the room as he prepared to preside over what he assumed would be a routine, if contentious, proceeding. The gallery, packed with onlookers ranging from legal scholars to curious citizens, buzzed with whispers. Some clutched notepads, others leaned forward, sensing the undercurrent of something momentous. The air crackled with expectation, a prelude to the drama that would unfold. Roberts opened the session with a voice that carried the weight of decades on the bench. His tone, measured but laced with authority, cut through the murmurs. "Representative Crockett," he began, "you stand before this court as a politician, not a legal scholar. Why do you presume to test our patience?" The question landed like a gavel strike, its edge sharpened by the implication that Crockett was out of her depth. The gallery stirred, some exchanging glances, others tensing as the Chief Justice's words hung in the air. Crockett, undeterred, straightened her shoulders, her gaze locking with his. "I'm more than a title, Chief Justice," she replied, her voice steady, resonant. "I'm here to fight for justice, for those who have no voice in rooms like this." The exchange set the tone, a spark that threatened to ignite the chamber. Roberts, unyielding, pressed forward, citing flaws in Crockett's argument. "Your submission," he declared, "is reckless, tethered to a dispute that lacks grounding in law. You've crossed a boundary." His words, cold and precise, were followed by a pronouncement that stunned the room, a $200,000 fine for contempt of court. The gallery erupted in gasps, a ripple of shock spreading through the crowd. Some leaned forward, others whispered furiously, while a few, defying the court's strict rules, reached for their phones, their fingers itching to capture the moment. Crockett's face betrayed no fear, only a flicker of defiance as she absorbed the blow. "Reckless?" she countered, her voice rising with conviction. "I call it truth, Chief Justice. You'll hear me out." The room seemed to contract, the tension palpable as Crockett's words echoed off the walls. The onlookers were divided, some nodding in quiet support, others shifting uncomfortably as the proceedings veered into uncharted territory. Court officers, stationed along the edges, exchanged glances, their radios buzzing with low murmurs. "She's pushing him," one muttered, sensing the delicate balance of order teetering. Roberts, his expression unreadable, leaned forward, his gavel a silent threat. "You speak of truth, Ms. Crockett, but this court demands order," he said, his voice a blade. Your defiance invites chaos. Crockett, undaunted, took a step closer to the bench, her presence commanding the space. Chaos? She said, her tone laced with passion. I'm here for the people, not your rules. The gallery stirred again, a wave of murmurs swelling. Some clapped softly, their hands muffled by the weight of the moment, while others tensed, sensing the Chief Justice's patience fraying. Roberts's eyes narrowed, his voice dropping to a chilling calm. People? You're a headline, Miss Crockett, not a litigator. Pay the fine. The words were a gauntlet thrown, a challenge to her very identity. The confrontation, already charged, took a deeper turn. Crockett's hands clenched at her sides, her voice trembling not with fear but with the weight of her conviction. Pay? She said, her eyes blazing. I'll pay with truth, Chief Justice. You'll feel what drives me. The gallery roared, some standing, others whispering fervently as the room pulsed with energy. Court officers signaled to one another, their movements urgent but restrained, aware that the moment was slipping beyond their control. Roberts, his composure tested, countered sharply. Truth? You're a performer, Miss Crockett, not a jurist. This court will not bend to your theatrics. The word stung, but Crockett's resolve only grew. Performer? She said, her voice rising, clear and unbroken. I'm their voice, Chief Justice. You're beginning to understand. The gallery surged, some shouting her name, others filming discreetly, their phones capturing fragments of a moment that would soon flood the internet. Posts on X began to surface, their words breathless, Crockett's fire is unstoppable. She's shaking the court. The clash, now a full-blown spectacle, was hurtling toward a peak, its emotional weight pulling everyone in its orbit. Roberts, his authority challenged, doubled down. Your voice, Miss Crockett, is reckless, he said, his tone thunderous. This fine is justice. The gallery reacted instantly, gasps mingling with murmurs as Crockett's eyes glistened, not with defeat but with a fierce determination. Reckless? She said, her voice raw, powerful. I carry the struggles of those you'll never see. My fight is real. Her words, laced with the pain of her constituents, cut through the chamber, a vivid recounting of lives marked by hardship. The onlookers surged, some sobbing openly, others clapping as the room became a cauldron of emotion. The Chief Justice, his face a mask of resolve, pressed harder. Real? You're a disruptor, Miss Crockett. You're no match for this court. His words were sharp, personal, but Crockett was unrelenting. Disruptor? She said, her voice trembling with feeling. I'm their heartbeat, Chief Justice. I'm turning this tide. The gallery split, some chanting her name, others whispering in awe as phones continued to record, the moment spilling onto social media. Crockett's soul is on fire, one post read, trending rapidly as the clash intensified. Roberts's jaw tightened, his voice faltering for the first time. Turning? You're a provocateur, Miss Crockett. I'll enforce order. The rebuke was meant to reassert control, but the gallery sensed weakness, their reactions growing louder. Some shouted support, others murmured, she's too strong. Crockett, standing taller, leaned into her conviction. I'm fighting for fairness, Chief Justice, she said, her tone commanding. You'll hear my truth. Roberts countered, his voice strained. Truth? You're a politician, Miss Crockett. Your words won't sway this court. The chamber pulsed with raw energy, the confrontation reaching a fever pitch. Crockett's hands gestured sharply, her voice breaking with sincerity. Your fine is cold, Chief Justice, she said. My fight is alive. The gallery erupted, some tossing papers, others streaming the moment live, their phones capturing every word. Roberts, his composure cracking, interjected. Alive? You're overreaching, Miss Crockett. You're done. His voice was unsteady, the first sign of vulnerability. Crockett, sensing the shift, pressed forward. "Done?" she said, her resolve soaring. "I'm just beginning, Chief Justice." The courtroom hit its emotional zenith as Crockett unleashed a heart-wrenching plea that would become the night's defining moment. "Your fine means nothing, Chief Justice," she said, her voice breaking with passion. "I fight for families shattered by injustice. Their tears outweigh your gavel." Her words, raw and vivid, wove a story of a constituent struggle, a single mother battling systemic barriers, her dreams crushed by inequity. The gallery reacted viscerally, some sobbing, others gasping as Crockett's voice carried the weight of countless untold stories. Roberts's face softened, his eyes betraying a flicker of emotion. "Families?" he said, his tone faltering. "You're a politician, Miss Crockett, not their savior." The onlookers surged, murmurs clashing with cheers as court officers stood frozen, the moment too profound to interrupt. Crockett leaned in, her voice trembling, eyes glistening. "Savior? I carry their pain, Chief Justice. You can't find my heart." The gallery roared, some chanting her name, others whispering, "She's breaking him." Phones captured every second, posts flooding X, Crockett's tearing down the court. "She's unstoppable." Roberts, his voice cracking, tried to regain control. "Heart? You're overstepping, Miss Crockett. You're done." But the words lacked conviction, his tone unsteady as the gallery surged again. Crockett, her presence radiant, stood fully, her voice soaring. "Done? My people's suffering fuels me, Chief Justice. Hear their voices." Her words, a poignant manifesto, recounted systemic hardships with a clarity that shook the room. Roberts's eyes welled, his hands gripping the bench as her conviction hit like a tidal wave. "Voices," he said, his voice barely audible. "You're defiant, Ms. Crockett." The gallery erupted, some standing, others filming as clips hit the internet, trending instantly. Crockett's plea breaks Roberts. "She's a legend." Crockett pressed on, her conviction unyielding. "Defiant? I'm their truth, Chief Justice. Feel it." What turned the moment into a spectacle was Roberts's vulnerability. His voice, a mix of awe and emotion, trembled as he spoke. "Truth? You're a force, Miss Crockett, but this court stands." Tears brimmed in his eyes, a rare crack in his judicial armor. Crockett, sensing the shift, delivered her final blow. "Force? I'm their hope, Chief Justice. My fight is bigger than your fine." The gallery exploded, some rushing the barriers, others chanting, "Jasmine's truth." Roberts, wiping his eyes, whispered, "Your point is made." The clash reached its resolution, a moment of raw humanity that left the room in awe. The aftermath was chaos. The gallery, a sea of emotion, sobbed and cheered as court officers struggled to restore order. Crockett, her resolve radiant, clasped her notes, her presence a beacon under the chamber's lights. Insiders reported she exhaled deeply, whispering, "I spoke for them," as her team shielded her from reporters. Roberts, composing himself, murmured, "We'll proceed," his voice steadier but shaken. The onlookers, some still filming, others weeping, were ushered out as security cleared the area. The night's end was a smoldering triumph, its impact reverberating far beyond the courtroom. Online, the reaction was immediate. Clips of Roberts's tearful concession and Crockett's passionate plea flooded X, racking up millions of views. Crockett moves Roberts to tears, one thread read, "She's a legend." Memes captioned, "Her heart topples gavel," spread across platforms, while analysts declared, "She flipped the courtroom." Crockett's tweet, posted hours later, "The people's voice can't be fined," pulled hundreds of thousands of likes, its replies a chorus of support. Critics, a minority, grumbled, "She's grandstanding," but their voices were drowned by the tide of admiration. Roberts's team, reserved, offered no comment, but insiders hinted at his reflection. Her words struck deep, one said, noting his judicial stature softened by the exchange. The court, thrust into the spotlight, drew unprecedented attention, with some whispering that Roberts's humanity had shone through. The gallery's sobs echoed online, Jasmine's unstoppable trending across platforms, her emotional edge sharper than ever. Crockett's victory, a cultural spark, reshaped perceptions of power and passion, her rise undeniable, Roberts's humanity etched in viral lore. The saga's impact stretched further. Crockett's brand soared, her conviction unquestioned, her reach amplified. Political insiders noted her platform now carried an emotional weight, her influence under a brighter spotlight. Some speculated she'd leverage the moment for a national speech or advocacy push, her silence a strategic pause. The judiciary, too, felt the ripples, with experts calling it a shift. Courts might eye bolder engagement or stricter decorum, one said, while the public divided. Half cheering Crockett's triumph, half marveling at Roberts's heart. The clash, a fuse, promised more. Crockett's next stand, Roberts's next ruling, loomed as potential flashpoints. The nation, hooked on the drama, awaited the next chapter, its appetite for truth and passion insatiable. The courtroom, once a bastion of restraint, had become a stage for humanity's rawest moments, and Crockett, its unyielding star, had redefined what it meant to fight.